Hello, hello, hello. Good day to you. And today we go into our another session about how to deal with difficult conversations. And I want to talk about how to stay focused within dialogue, how to stay focused to prevent a conversation to become difficult. I believe I have mentioned to you before that every time we feel threatened, we feel attacked, or we feel under stress, in fear, our first reaction is, well, there are two options, not the best and the most healthy ones, which are we go into silence, we retreat ourselves, or we go into violence. Many people use, I would say, in the work environment, and when it's very hierarchical, most people go into silence because they believe their voice is not going to be heard, that it doesn't matter, or they want to prevent, to make the situation even worse. And on the other hand, other people go into violence. And when we say violence, of course, we will think about something violent, something like physical violence or something a verbal attack, but very aggressive with very bad words, bad mouthing, or pointing fingers, blaming, all this kind of stuff. But violence can be more subtle than that. Violence can be sarcasm. Violence can be you interrupting the other person all the time without allowing the person to finish the sentence. Violence can be you trying to push your point forward no matter what. Violence can also be you becoming silent. Think about violence can also be, I'm going to even write this down, this for you here. Violence in communication can also, the other way around, silence in communication can also be violent. It's here. It's true because if you go into silence and you don't react no matter what the other person says, that can be a violent act as well. And if everybody around becomes silent as well towards the other person, that can be a violent act as well. But let's not go too much into that there today. Well, let's go back to being focused. Let's go back to being focused. So, focus is needed, absolutely needed, if you want to remain in dialogue because it requires you to be present, and with present means be physically present, being you feeling that you are here in this room right now. And when we are in meetings, when we are in conversations, our instinctive behavior is every time someone is saying something, we connect mentally with something of what with what is was said, and our mind might drift away, especially if it's a difficult conversation or something which has high stakes and that you already tense before getting to the room. So your inner behavior will be pretty much like off and on, off and on. The important thing is for you to be able to stay present, is to be aware. Self-awareness is vital, is your main skill in this situation of staying focused, because your brain will drift away, but you have to be aware that you realize, well, I'm out, let me bring myself back to the room, to the moment, to the time. It's important to be present, to be able to be in dialogue, to build dialogue in any conversation, to be productive, to be fruitful, to be towards a common goal, needs that both sides are present, are self-aware, and both are contributing to the conversation at the same level. Because think about this, when we get in conversation with people, we know the topic of the conversation. Let's think about that meeting. But we all bring our opinions, our different opinions, from our own perspective of the world, of the situation, of what happened. So we are bringing to this container, which will be our conversation, different ways of dealing with it. So it requires an effort for all participants to work together towards a common goal. So if you are not present, and present mean not only present on your own perspective, on your own view, but present to be able to observe what the dynamic of what's happening around you, the dynamic of what is happening verbally and not verbally around you. So you can detect some messages that are in between lines, some messages that are in between lines that you might not see if you're not present. And Aneta Hutz say everything depends on the context. So, hi Aneta, good morning. Absolutely, everything depends on the context. So the important thing here, if you're not present, you come with your ideas, your fixed ideas. You have planned your direction, the direction of where you want to go with the conversation. Even if you have the best intentions, you might not give the space for the others to express themselves, or you might not listen actively for what they say because you have a fixed idea of where you want to go. So this is why it's so dialogue is so difficult and is so needed in every conversation. And I will keep repeating this over and over because dialogue is what we need. I believe we lost the capacity for dialogue. It is the world we are living right now, when we are in this environment where everything is messages, short messages, is my opinion, and I leave it there. And if I receive a bad response or a response that I didn't like, I just ignore or delete. How can we build dialogue? How can we learn to be in dialogue if our communication nowadays is this way, where we are not really meeting person? We are in this environment, in the phones, and we are not practicing building dialogue. Because you know what? It's difficult. It's not easy. It requires energy. It requires willingness to really be in dialogue, to really be listening. In our brain, this machine here, it's fantastic. It's amazing. But this machine here mainly has two functions. Okay. Core functions of the machine is to search for any danger that you might be in, is your survival instinct, making sure that you survive. So it's always searching around without you even noticing. Notice. So this is why it's difficult to accept others' idea, because that might collide with yours, that might put you in danger. That is your inner instinct. And the second thing is this machine wants to save energy. So this is why we are creatures of habit. So habits help us to save energy. So when we believe in something and we repeat that over and over, and that's the way I do things. How many times you hear people saying to you, "Oh no, but we are not going to do this because that's the way we always did." That is easier in a way because you already know how to do it, so you don't have to spend the time learning and accepting other possibilities. And it is this mindset that we have to be very careful when we get into the conversation. Are we getting to the conversation really ready to listen, ready to accept other views, ready to accept and work on those other views to make them happen? This requires energy, this requires time. Or we are going to be just stubborn and say that's the way it is. And that's what happens with many people, especially in leading positions where they have the power of the final word. Much easier to say, no, that's the way we're going to do because I don't want to think about it, of other possibilities. So then you use your power. I would say you abuse your power for the sake of making things in a way easier for you. So being present, staying focused is super important to be in dialogue and to build dialogue, because dialogue, to 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 get into the flow, there is the willingness for everybody to be aware that it needs also to be almost to be a consensus at the beginning, saying this is how we will behave in this conversation. Every time someone drifts away, we will help to bring that person back to the conversation so we can really build dialogue. Dialogue is two ways. I speak, you speak. Monologue is what most people have when they are in conversations, when they stop everybody and don't give the space for the other ones to express themselves. They cut people, they ignore, etc., so on and so forth. And this is a violent communication. And also, or another side of the this behavior, when people feel under threat and the fear when dealing with difficult conversations, is the silence. And silence is very dangerous because silence is like a timing bomb. You shut down, you don't say anything, but this goes filling up until one day you can not cope with it anymore, and then you explode, and then everything's going to go everywhere. To finalize today about staying in focused, remember, this is a very important skill to be able to build and to be in dialogue. And stay focused means to be present, consciously present, aware, self aware. And don't worry that you will drift away. But the important thing is your mind will drift away. But the important thing here is that once you are present, self aware, willing to build a dialogue towards a common goal where everybody contribute to this goal to happen, when you drift away, when your mind drifts away, you will be able to bring yourself back. So that is the exercise, that is the skill, one of the most important skills to be able to be in dialogue, to be able to deal with difficult conversations. See you next week, and good Friday to you.